So we are going to start the second Dhamma sermon, and this is the last Dhamma sermon on this series. Yavakalapi Sutta. May you give your consent by saying sadhu sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Mānagatame tam bhikkave rogo mānagatame tam gando mānagatame tam sallang tasmātiha bhikkave nihatamānena cetasa viharissāmāti evaṁ hivo bhikkave sikkitabbanti. Dear friends in Dhamma, we were discussing Yavakalapi Sutta, which is available in the Salayatana Samyutta, where Buddha discuss how our thoughts generation in a way happens, how various thoughts are being generated, how various I-making, mind-making are happening. So basically there are 5 methods Buddha mentioned. The first one is called Manjana, conceiving. So internally we feel there is a person, there is I, and I-centered thinking is something very much like naturally happens. So we like to think based upon I. I want think. I want to think. Since there is thinking happens, there is I. So there is, I think, someone, a Western philosopher also has mentioned, since there is thinking going on, there should be a thinker. So anyway, so this is how our typical way of thinking operates. So we think, so there is a thinker, there is I. So more we think, more the sense of I. So manjana. And then the second one Buddha mentioned is what we call as the injana. So based upon the craving, based upon various desires, the sense of I generated. When there are various desires available, so I have a feeling of I, sense of I need it, I want it. Without it, I can't live. So the sense of I is promoted when desires are available, when craving is available. So these cravings are promoting the sense of I. And based on I, craving is also promoted. So they are very much interconnected. So more you have craving, more you have many desires, you feel the presence of yourself. I is there, presence of yourself. And the presence of yourself promotes more possessing, more belonging, more acquiring, because you need to promote I. So that is the second one. Third one is called Pandana. So when we are dependent on so many things, our minds are dependent on so many things, and when those dependent things are subject to some sort of change, so we can't bear it, and automatically we get into some kind of a jerk, agitation, because the dependents are constantly changing, and we being the dependent, actually we become somewhat agitated. We become struck. We become shocked. So then the sense of I comes out. Say you are traveling by bus and all of a sudden it get met with an accident. So you sense of I. What happened to me? Who is going to help me? Please help me. So the sense of I comes out. So likewise, when we are dependent ourselves with so many other external conditions, all those external conditions are very much vulnerable. They are subject to constant change. So we being the dependent are constantly being sort of agitated, and that promotes the sense of I. So I want to protect myself. I want to safeguard myself. So the sense of I is there. Then the fourth one is called Prapancha, conceptual proliferation. So we love too much thinking. We love manifold type of thinking. many different ways of thinking. Our mind is very much like prepared or conditioned for long time to think in many different ways. Very much like addicted to thinking. Not a well-directed, properly organized kind of thinking, rather completely ill-organized, complete unorganized type of thinking. Thinking this way, that way, past, present, future, again past, present, future, sights, sounds, past, present, future. There is no any particular proper pattern. It's very difficult to find out a kind of a very configured, organized way of thinking. Rather, the mind is completely unorganized, obsessive, addicted kind of thinking. So we are fond of doing that, and such kind of thinking promotes I. Conceptual proliferation happens in a way because of the feeling of I, and more we conceptually proliferate, the sense of I further promotes. So they are very much helping each other. Then the last one we started discuss yesterday, that is called the managata. So there is a continuous comparison. I as an individual, I compare myself with another person. So this constant comparison, measuring myself with another person, whether I am better than another person, or whether I am superior to another person, whether I am equal to another person, or whether I am inferior to another person. Constant measurement, constant comparison is ongoing. As a result of that, sense of I is going on. And when sense of I is there, the comparison is going on. So they are interdependent. Now, yesterday we discussed, so what are the possibilities? When are we becoming more conceited? How conceit happens? And what are the typical conventional kinds of possibilities available to promote this kind of conceit, kind of being proud, being arrogant, so that we are not hearing to anyone else's advices because we have strong ego, strong pride, self-importance, assumed self-importance. So all these things are there, we as an individual, when we are highlighting ourselves. Now, in typical conventional way, so there are some mechanics or some methods available to somewhat calms down. So we as, say, Buddhists, we as coming from a good culture, so we have a kind of tendency to respect others, respect elders, respect monks, respect our teachers, respect our parents. So likewise, this kind of gratitude, the respectful attitude we have in our mind, in a way help us to somewhat calm down the conceit. Say when a person is advising us, probably we can surrender. We can accept that advice. We can sort of well ground ourselves, become more and more humble. So such typical possibilities are also available. Maybe from our good culture, from say religious values, in front of our teachers, in front of our parents, elders, so we can become more humble. So that is good. So those are the supporting ways, in a way, in a more conventional way, we can overcome to some extent the conceit, the pride. Now, but that is not enough to completely uproot conceit. So now we need a kind of a very good mechanism to completely uproot conceit. So what is the method? Now, there are many instances this subject being discussed. So one instance is called available in the Rahula Sutta, where Venerable Rahula, probably you know Venerable Rahula being one of the very important monk who has all the capacity to become really conceited. But he is in a way, a role model who was not conceited. What are the possibilities he had to become more conceited than the others? So he is the son of the Buddha. He comes from the Sakyan family. And he is heir to the throne. And his teacher is Most Venerable Sariputta. the second. So many reasons are there for him to be conceited, but he showed complete opposite. So early morning he throw some sand to the out, throw a sand, bunch of sands to the up, and wish something else. He wish, may to the amount of sand, number of sand particles available here, may I get advices, good advices from my teachers, from my, say, fellow monks. So he has that kind of attitude. Even though all the possibilities were there to become conceited, become proud, now he is practicing the opposite. Probably knowing that the danger of conceit, now he is putting himself in a more humble position. Let everyone advise me. So among the Buddha's dispensation, he became the most, suacha, advisable type of monk. And he once actually asked from Buddha, Katannuko bhante janato katam passato imasmincha saviññānake kāye bahiddacha sabba nimittesu ahinkāra maminkāra māna anusaya na honteti. Now he is putting a very straight question to the Buddha. He is asking, Katannuko bhante janato katam passato. Bhante. So this is, he is addressing to the Buddha. Bhante, by seeing how, by knowing how, imasmincha saviññānake kāye. So this body, including the consciousness, bahiddacha sabba nimittesu, and all the different possibilities coming from the external sources. Ahinkara maminkara mana anusaya na hontiti. So there's a possibility of generating I making, mind making, conceit due to all these possibilities. How am I going to overcome them? Now you can see, by making use of our senses, we are constantly getting some kind of a sense impingement to the outside. Say, through the eyes I am seeing, through ears I am listening, through the nose I am getting some odors, sensing some odors. Through the tongue I am getting the tastes. Through the body I am getting information about the tactile sensations. Through the mind I am getting the mental objects. So constantly I am communicating with the outside world, and on such occasions, I making, mind making, conceit can happen. How is it happening? Say, for example, you are simply seeing your son. So he is my son. My son is better than other sons. My son is the best son. My son is the most, whatever. So we as parents, we love to have children who are more, obedient, who are more successful, and whatever the best way, so they have to be, and we expect that. And when I see that, I as a parent, as a father, as a mother, I become proud of him. And sometimes we encourage that. Say, whenever we see a song, assume that, hear a song. Suppose that you are a singer. You were singing beautiful songs some time back, and now you are old. And when you hear that song, while you are young, you are singing really beautifully. Oh, that is I who sang that song. So I comes out. So nose, tongue, everything is something like that. So as we dealing with our senses, so this I making, mind making, comparison, mana, conceit, all can happen. And within this conscious body, as well as when we are dealing with the outside world, so all these I making, mind making are going to happen. So Venerable Rahula is now asking, how are we going to avoid it? So Buddha's answer directly go here as a Vipassana technique. A deep Vipassana here, Buddha mentioned, Yankinji Rahula Rupang, Ati Tanagata Pachuppannang Ajjattang va Bahiddava, ඕලාරිකං වා සුකුමං වා හීනං වා පනීතං වා යන්දුරේ සම්තිකේ වා සබ්බං රූපං නේතම්මම නේසෝ හමස්මි න මේසෝ අත්තාති ඒව මේතං යථා භූතං සම්මප්පඤ්ඤාය පස්සති. Now, say for example, whenever you see something, assume that currently, presently, assume that you see something. At that moment, if eye making happens, oh, he is my, oh, I am the one, I did it best. So whatever the way the eye making happens, so you have to do some kind of a disclaiming instead of getting deluded by that and being promoting the self notion, being promoting the sense of I. Now you need to understand, okay, again mind has gone into that wrong pattern. Mind went through that deluded system. Mind went to the wrong track. So through mindfulness we have to be aware of that, and at that time Buddha give a little support here. Netammama neso hamasmi na meso attati. So you are very much like disclaiming, telling, oh, it is not me, it is not myself, it is not I am. So kind of a deliberate reminder to the mind through the eyes when it is eye making happens. So we do a kind of a deliberate reminder to the mind, it is not me, it is not myself, it is not I am. Same thing to the ears. Whenever eye making, mind making happens through the ears, once we hear a particular sound. So we have to make such kind of a purposeful or deliberate kind of disclaiming. Through the nose, tongue, body, mind, we have to do the same thing. Now suppose you did something good yesterday. Say you participated in a dana ceremony and you are the ones who organized it. You are the one went to the temple to get the monks, and you did it properly and everyone was quite happy. And at the end of the ceremony, everyone praised you and you were also quite happy. So today, now everything is done yesterday, done well. So today, while you are taking a rest, what happened to your mind? Any thoughts happening with respect to yesterday's event? It can happen. Now we need to remember, now as we are getting to the correct side, as we are getting to the Dhamma path, so we are very much like concerned about the wrong activities, unwholesome activities, and now we are promoting wholesome activities. So we are not killing animals, not stealing, not involved with sexual misconduct, not doing any kind of false speech, and not taking alcohol. So we are very much like becoming a good human being, and now we promote some wholesome activities. Now when a person is conducting more and more unwholesome activities, so his mind get occupied with those unwholesome activities, and there he makes I myself. But on the other hand, when we are dealing with more wholesome activities, so what are the things that mind reminds? So those are the wholesome activities. So I did that properly. I am the one who organized. I am the one who prepared dana. I am the one who offered dana. I am the one who recited Dhammapada. I am the one who preached Dhamma. I am the one taught Dhamma. I am the one conducted the retreat. I am the one organized the retreat. Right? I am the one offered dana to the monk. I am the one washed the foot or washed the feet. Whatever the way, so whatever the good thing we did, so at a later time, it can happen to your mind. Is it necessary? Now, in the good old days, so we learned. So those are necessary to recall, and you need to remind your good wholesome deeds, what you did, and more you are happy about it, more will be the wholesome karma you generate. Haven't you learned like that? So it also has a good value, isn't it? So that is one side of what we call the sammaditthi, kammasakata sammaditthi. So we believe the karma, we are heir to the karma, and if we do good, we'll get good. If we do bad, we'll get the bad. Simple as that. So if we have done something good, so recalling it, rejoicing on it is helpful to generate more karma, more wholesome karma. Even if someone else has done something good, if we rejoice it, now in this say punyānumodana, so someone else has done something good, so I am happy about it, I am rejoicing about it, I have a kind of a altruistic joy about it. So it's a kind of an appreciation, a joy arising in ourselves. It can promote good karma, wholesomeness within ourselves. But when we are promoting a self-use in that, so that is the kind of the hook available. So that is the type of bait available there. So when we are promoting a self using a wholesome deed, so there it is mixed up with some asavas, influxes. So that is why Buddha mentioned this first category of sammaditthi, the proper view, correct view, has asavas, influxes. Avijja asava is there, ignorance is there, ditti asava is there, sakkaya ditti is there. So in the statement Buddha mentioned, in this mundane type of sammaditthi, sāsava punya bahagya upadi vepakka. So it is with influxes, but it is wholesome and it produces future good results. And this is the category of the first type of sammaditthi. But a Vipassana yogi now is concerned about the next side, what we call as the supramundane type of sammaditthi, lokuttara sammaditthi. So there Buddha mentioned anasava, ariya, anasava, lokuttara, magganga. Noble, free from influxes, supramundane, and becomes a path factor. Ariya, anasava, lokuttara, magganga. So this is the path now we have to be concerned. So if we are following Buddha's teaching and trying to go in the supramundane path, so now we have to concern about this supramundane type of sammaditthi. Even with a wholesome deed, we should not promote asavas, influxes. So whenever we have completed a particular task, a second thought of that particular task promoting a self-view has to be abandoned. So at that time we need to remember Buddha's advice. Netam mama neso hamasmi na meso attat. It is not me, it is not mine, it is not myself. Whatever the task, it's done. So it is not I did it. So maybe we can assume some different ways. Those are the just 5 aggregates at that time get involved and they take part in that time and they all passed away. Now whatever the aggregates happening right now are completely different. So why do we have kind of a connectivity between the present aggregates and the past aggregates? How we are maintaining such? So basically because of our ignorance. Now say for example, if you consider your own body, when you are practicing Dhatu Manasikara, so again and again assume that you are paying attention to many different types of say element characteristics. At that moment you are experiencing many element characteristics, and if you are experiencing after 1 hour many different kinds of element characteristics, are they the same? Is there any connection? Now yesterday's element characteristics, today's element characteristics, tomorrow's element characteristics, are they the same? There is no such connection. So they all instantaneous, momentarily. But we have a wrong perception thinking that present element characteristics, previous element characteristics, future element characteristics are all belong to me and this is my body and I am the one possessing it. I lived yesterday, now also I am living, tomorrow also I will be living. So we maintain such kind of a continuity. We are trapped in such kind of a continuity. Sometimes we call it as santati ghana. We are trapped in such continuity type of compactness. So the continuity hides the instantaneous arising and passing away. So very difficult to recognize. So through Vipassana, say the moment that you recognize how quickly these things are arising and passing away, arising and passing away. So there you can understand, okay, they are not permanent. They are quite instantaneous. They are momentary. So how then I connect these constantly arising and passing away phenomena, momentary phenomena, to yesterday's phenomena, tomorrow's phenomena? There is no such thing. So we can say it's happened in a kind of a chain, in the same generation, whatever the way we can define, but everything is very much like momentary. So on such situation, giving kind of a credit, giving kind of a praise to a yesterday's activity conducted by at that moment available 5 aggregates, and now giving that credit to this available 5 aggregates, is it a valid credit? Is a valid appreciation? So we can think. So on one occasion, actually this is available in the, I think, Yamaka Sutta, I think that's what we are going to discuss tomorrow. So Buddha mentioned, whenever someone is praising, so Buddha mentioned, so you need to remember. So some time back I have seen these 5 aggregates. To these 5 aggregates I am now receiving so this kind of a sound as a praise. So when you are thinking like that, is there any person to acknowledge the praise? And Buddha says, I have seen that. I have understood that. When did you understand that? During your Vipassana session. Say if you are practicing Natu Manasikara, if we stick to that, say during that particular meditation session, suppose that you are deeply understanding how things are arising and passing away within this body. Many different kinds of elements are there, and they are quickly arising and passing away, bursting. And you understood. There can't be a person, there can't be a lasting personality, there can't be a lasting soul. So you understood that, you have realized that at that moment, it's an eye-opening insight. But at a later time, what happened? You forget it. And again you feel, and after Kalalgoda, you go home and you are going in front of the mirror. Oh, I am beautiful. Oh, I got old, no? Some white hair, too many white hairs available. How quickly I get old. Netam mama neso hamasmi na meso attati. So at that moment I need to remember, so Mara is trying to put the bait, trying to grab me, trying to bind me. So the moment you see your image, eye-making, mind-making can happen. Is it happening? We need to check at that time. So Vipassana happens at that time. The disclaim has to happen at that time. When eye-making happens, when mind-making happens, when conceit happens. Say you go home and someone calls you and asks, how was Kalalgoda retreat? Excellent. I am the one asked the best question. Netam mama neso hamasmi na meso attati. It's not me, not mine, not myself. Can we remember? Very difficult. Because we can practice, we can go through various powerful insights in a meditative environment. But later in the practical, day-to-day, mundane activities, when eye-making, mind-making happens, we simply acknowledge it, we promote the self-will. But the advice is to do disclaiming at those times. Say while you are walking, say someone is ignoring you, neglecting you, disrespecting you. So I can come out. How dare he is telling like this? How dare he is behaving like this? He should remember that I am a tent preceptor. He should remember that I am a monk. He should remember that I am a respectful person. He should remember that I am a mother. They have to give equal rights to women. Netam mama neso hamasmi na meso attati. It's not me, not myself, not I am. Can we remember that? So these are the mundane, ordinary days, daily activities, and that is where the Mara is putting the bait now. So we need to continuously disclaim, I-making, mind-making conceit. So that's why Buddha has given a comprehensive disclaiming process here. If with respect to the past 5 aggregates, if with respect to the present 5 aggregates, future 5 aggregates, gross aggregates, refined aggregates, inferior aggregates, superior aggregates, closer aggregates, far away aggregates, 11 ways he has put the net, everything included. Nowhere allowed, very much like. So the disclaiming has to be available. Now, there are many other methods also. Now, this is one significant method. And in certain other suttas, so Buddha mentioned how the Vipassana process taking place is very much like taking care of cutting off this mana anusaya, the latent tendency to conceit. There is one sutta called Anicca Sanya Sutta in the Khandha Samyukta. So there Buddha mentioned Anicca Sanya Bhavita Bahuli Kata Sabbang Kamaragang Pariyadiyati Sabbang Ruparagang Pariyadiyati Sabbang Bhavaragang Pariyadiyati Sabbang Avijjang Pariyadiyati Sabbang Asmi Manang Pariyadiyati Samuhanti. So if one is developing the perception of impermanence, so you have seen it, you have seen how things are quickly arising and passing away, how things are bursting, how things are inconstant. So you are maintaining that perception. Things are impermanent, things are inconstant, things are very transient. The more you strongly understand that the perception of impermanence, so Buddha mentioned it is capable of cutting off the anusayas, cutting off the latent defilements, latent tendencies. So the same is highlighted in another sutta in a different way. Again, Buddha is advising to Venerable Rahula. So Buddha is advising like this. In the Rahula Sutta in Sutta Nipata, Buddha mentioned, Animittancha bhavehi mananusaya mujjaha tato manabhisamaya upasanto charissatiti. It's a very beautiful verse there. Buddha mentioned, Animittancha bhavehi. Rahula, you got to develop the animitta, the signless concentration, or we can say the signless ceto vimutti, opening of the mind, freedom of the mind through signlessness, using which mana anusaya mujjaha, you have to uproot conceit. Tato mana bisamaya, and after you completely uproot mana, conceit, upasanto charissatiti, you may behave like a saint. You may behave more tranquil. You may behave like a muni, we can say. So why animitta highlighted here in a way? So what is animitta? So most of you have heard about it. So as we practice impermanence, how things are quickly arising and passing away, So more and more, as we are gathering the momentum, how things are quickly arising and passing away, quickly arising and passing away, how are you going to get the sign? Now say for example, when someone, a photographer, want to take a picture. So what is, now assume that there's a family with their children, mother, father, and they invite a photographer to take a picture. And now father, mother takes the children closer to them and the photographer is ready. So what is the father's advice to children, mother's advice to children? Don't move, don't move. I mean, you need to look at that. Don't move. You need to say cheese. So why we tell that? So the camera has to capture a still picture, right? So we need to move constant. We need to remain constant, permanent. Then we can capture the information, right? The signs. So the capturing of signs has the notion of permanence. So in order to capture more signs, we need to remain still. Now in Vipassana, the opposite happens, isn't it? So things are constantly changing, arising and passing away. How are you going to capture an image? So the mind loses its ability to capture an image. Mind loses its ability to capture the details, whether it is pleasurable or painful or equanimous. Now you can't say. Assume that you are doing Vedananupassana and you are able to recognize it as a pleasurable feeling. You are able to recognize it as a painful feeling. You are able to recognize it as a equanimous feeling and you are able to put a label to that. But now things are very quickly arising and passing away. You can't recognize whether it is pleasurable or painful or equanimous. Something is happening very rapidly. That's all you can perceive. Now say someone was telling in the morning, or rather in the afternoon, that thoughts are coming like, very quick. It's not a kind of a full thought, kind of a fraction of a thought. Can you say whether it is a lustful thought or angry thought or jealousy thought or whatever, wholesome thought? So it's very difficult to put a label now because they are very transient. Thought, like, we can say it's a kind of a thought, it's kind of initiating but it's gone. Initiating and it's going. Quickly disappearing. So the disappearing is so fast. As a result of that, you can't stick a label to it now. You can't stick a label. So likewise, as we continue our Vipassana practice, when things are happening in a rapid succession, so you can't recognize the signs. And I like to add another point here. So, what are the signs that you most like? Now suppose there is a woman, a beautiful woman. So what are the signs a youth may like? What are the signs another woman may like? Are they the same? Now suppose there's a beautiful picture here. Someone may look at from one angle, say, oh, she's a beautiful woman. And another one say, no, she's not that beautiful and blah, blah, blah. This thing is wrong, this thing is bad. The way she has walked or the way she has dressed is not good. So the way you're looking at depends on your own set of defilements. So the object is very much like it has its own capacity, true. But on top of that, we have our own conditioning process. So the capturing of information, capturing of all these different details has a considerable influence coming from our own defilements. Rago ko avuso nimitta karano, doso nimitta karano, moho nimitta karano. So in the Mahavedalla Sutta, Venerable Sariputta therefore highlights, so all these capturing of signs has a great influence coming from internal lust, hatred and delusion. You can see the gravity of our Mara's bond. So how we give marks, how we give kind of a value to a particular object, it is merely depending on our own defilements. And when we practice Vipassana, at least for some extent, momentarily, so the operation of Raga Dosa Moha, arising of Raga Dosa Moha are fairly subsided. And you are maintaining a fair barrier from a samadhi, concentration. And you do thorough investigation that promotes wisdom. Instead of ignorance, you now have wisdom. Instead of passion, now you have dispassion. Instead of hatred, now you have kind of an equanimity. So the Raga Dosa Moha are fairly subsided in that instance. So the possibility is available for you to have a thorough understanding about the reality. So the moment it happens, then that linkage can be broken, as we discussed in the early morning, so that established consciousness can be broken. So that is what happening in the way when you see constant arising and passing away. So the mind becomes incapable of registering the signs. So when signs are not available, so the mind can't register it, mind can't well establish it. On that, ultimately what happened to the consciousness? It becomes released. It becomes free. Because it can't capture the signs. So one now get a kind of freed mind as a result of not being able to capture signs. So we say animitta samadhi, animitta ceto vimutti. The freedom of mind happens through signlessness, signless concentration. So now Buddha advised Venerable Rahula, now you got to develop that. You know to dwell in that state. As much as possible, Venerable Rahula, you need to develop this animitta samadhi or animitta ceto vimutti. And as a result of that, you would be able to eliminate conceit. How is that? So when mind does not capture signs, so what happened to your mind in a way? Now suppose you are with a lot of lustful thoughts. So your mind constantly capture more and more signs, right? So many signs of the sights, many signs of the sounds. So your mind is filled with so many sounds, so many signs. It's very much like stains. Suppose that your mind is very much like a clear A4 paper, nothing written there. Now you are adding different colors to it. You are pasting different images in it. You are drawing using a pen, using a pencil, using a brush. You are spitting to it. Whatever the way. Now, what happened to the A4 paper? Is it clear? Is it clean? Or is it filled with so many things? Now it is filled with so many things. So our typical undeveloped mind is like that. It is with so many things. Suppose that you have a cloth, didn't wash for a year. You can't even get closer to it, isn't it? Suppose that you are wearing it every day almost like, and it getting polluted, it getting stained, and everything is happening to that, and then you kept it aside an year, and if you look at it, you can see what a kind of bad smell coming, what a kind of opaque look available, you can't see through it. Many stains are there, many rubbish is there. So, how about your mind? Is it like that, or a clean cloth? Where is your mind now? Is it a clean cloth or a polluted cloth? Suppose now we are cleaning the cloth. So slowly we are cleaning the cloth. So slowly what happens? So that lost clarity, the lost whiteness, we can say, slowly coming up, right? So it was discolored previously, now all those stains are removed because you are adding, Surf Ultra something. So now those detergent are capable of removing all the stains. Surf Excel, no? Surf Excel, right? Surf Excel, yeah. Or sunlight maybe. So all the stains are now slowly removed. Now you ultimately get a pure cloth, right? A very pleasant and white cloth now you have. Same process in the Vipassana. At the beginning we had a completely stained cloth, stained mind, polluted mind, scattered mind. And now slowly, after going through the purification process, it's become more and more purified, more and more whiter in a way, we can say. More and more cleansed, luminous. We can connect that word now. It has become luminous now. So if you are maintaining such a clear, luminous, spacious mind, free from any stains, what happens if a stain now happens, now comes into it? What do you feel? You immediately notice it, isn't it? Now say you have a very clear cloth, onto that clear cloth, assume that a roaming fly comes and, locate on it, put himself on it. So you can see, now a fly is on that cloth. Now previously, you can't notice it. It's fully filled with a lot of stains, but now you can notice it. Simple as that. So more we very much like familiarize, more we abiding with, so that kind of a pure consciousness, clear consciousness, stainless consciousness, signless consciousness, so more and more defilements become apparent. Defilements become more evident, very easy to recognize. So now eye-making, mind-making happens, you are able to recognize. Because eye-making, mind-making requires fair amount of clarity in the mind, otherwise difficult to recognize. And we typically become happy about eye-making, mind-making. You like praise. We love recognition. We expect recognition. We expect respect. Isn't it? We expect kind of a recognition. We expect respect. Through the respect, am I making a self? Am I trying to highlight myself? Am I making a self-view? Am I comparing myself with another person? Feeling superior than another person? Now we need to notice that kind of a comparison. Is it happening right now in these 5 aggregates? So, in another sutta, in the Tuataka Sutta, so Buddha advised to the monks, Majje yata samuddassa umi no jayati tito hoti. Evang tito anejassa ussadam bhikkhu na kaireya kuhinji. Now in the ocean, where the ripples are happening? Is it in the middle or in the beach? In the beach, right? So the ripples are always happening, the waves are always happening in the beach. closer to the beach. The shallow waters makes a lot of waves, lot of noise, lot of ripples. As we move further and further to the deep sea, what happened to the ripples? What happened to the waves? They become less and less, right? So when one is in the deep sea, the deep ocean, we can say it is complete stillness. Is it shallow? It's extremely deep. Is your mind deep or shallow? Are there many ripples or less ripples? You can see what a strength of a simile available, what a strength of a Buddha's simile available. If mind is going through too many ripples, so we are still in the shallow water. If mind is experiencing fair stillness, as a result of the practice, then we are in a deep stillness, but don't consider it as shallow. It has a great support coming through the practice. A great wisdom is behind supporting it. As a result of that, maintain stillness. Because sometimes, as we continue, as we progress, we tend to disvalue. We think, okay, there is no meditation going on. So if meditation happen, I have to have, pain after that. After my sitting, I spend many hours sitting. I had a good meditation today. My mind become blissed out. So I spend several hours sitting, so I have pain, back pain. So you can tell your brother, tell your sister, tell your friend, I meditated many hours today. But after some time, after practicing, say, several years, you are not sitting, not many long hours, don't have any back pain, not coming through the meditation, you are not spending hours in sitting, not spending hours in walking, practicing meditation. Am I meditating now? Is it a type of meditation? Do you have grasping? Is your mind free from conceit? Is your mind free from defilements? Is your mind free from stress? So we need to check. Even though, assume that you were practicing diligently and you are practicing several years, and now mind remains calm, quiet, experiencing inner silence, and no grasping, no stress. Mind is quite spacious, fairly clean, very rarely defilements are happening. Are you meditating? Do you have back pain? Can you say that you are meditating to your sister, brother? Can they notice that you are sitting long hours? Do you really need long hours sitting? What do you expect by sitting long hours? Are you in the shallow waters or deep sea? So very interesting way how to measure ourselves, isn't it? Not to measure with another person, but to recognize whether we are in the deep sea or in the shallow waters. So deep sea, quite still, appear like shallow, but extremely deep. And important thing highlighted here by the Buddha, Majje yata samuddassa umino jayati tito hoti. That means within the middle of the ocean, there is no waves, but still. Ussadam evang tito anejassa. Ussadam bhikkhu na karaya kohinchi. Now he is addressing to the monk, to the practitioner. He says, if you are like that, now you need to recognize ussada. Ussada means going up and down. Ripples, fluctuations, oscillations. Particularly eye-making, mind-making. So your mind become agitated when I is there, excited when I is there. Otherwise, still, calm, relax. You don't feel like living. That means not committing suicide, what I mean. What I mean is that you don't feel excited. Just living. Quite ordinary. Like Bhante Dhammajiva say, white bread, no jam, no butter, no pepper, no tomato, pure white bread, pure water, no sugar, no milk, not boiled, no orange juice, pure water. Is it good, boring, or bad? So what do you need? You need boiled water, Sprite, Fanta, Coca-Cola, or pure water? What are you asking when you feel thirsty? What is your choice? Are you asking for a Coca-Cola? Are you asking for a fruit juice? Or are you asking pure water? So we can ask ourselves, what is our preference? What do you want? What are we expecting from the practice? Are we expecting a fruit juice? Or are we expecting emptiness? Can you bring emptiness at home? When you are going home, your husband asks, you spent 3 days at Kalalgoda. What did you bring? I brought emptiness. Can you say like that? So Buddha says here, Ussadam bhikkhuna kareya kuhinchi. So he is advising to the practitioner, don't make any fluctuations. Don't allow your mind to get excited. Don't make any I, sense of I. It's going up. Don't allow these oscillations. Just be in the middle. Middle is still. You are in the deep sea. Still, calm, quiet, but deep. So these are another area. Now, there's another way highlighted in the Madhupindika Sutta to eliminate all the different kinds of latent tendencies. So there Buddha mentioned, rather the Venerable Mahakachana mentions, Yato nidanam bhikkhu purisang papancha sanya sankha samudacharanti ettache natti abhinanditabbang abhivaditabbang ajjosetabbang esevanto raganusayanang esevanto patigahanusayanang esevanto dittyanusayanang esevanto vichikicchanusayanang esevanto mananusayanang esevanto bhavaraganusayanang esevanto avijjanusayanang, and he keeps going telling all the defilements, many defilements. So what is the point highlighted there? Now suppose if there is a beautiful image, beautiful picture, sight, whatever it is, typically it promotes conceptual proliferation, too much thinking. But if a person is capable, even on such situation, not making any kind of conceptual proliferation, then that leads to calming down all latent tendencies, eliminating all latent tendencies. So you can see the gravity of the latent tendencies as well as the conceptual proliferation, the link between those two. The more you think, more you conceptually proliferate, more you promote latent tendencies, more you strengthen latent tendencies. The opposite, even amidst so much of, say, exciting sight, scene, sight, sound, smells, tastes, etc. available, if you are able to maintain a quiet mind, free from conceptual proliferation, free from obsessive thinking, then you are not promoting latent tendencies. Instead, you are slowly abandoning, weakening latent tendencies. Now you can see, are you able to maintain quietude in a silence, without any agitation, when someone is blaming. Can you? We can look at these kind of situations. So those are the situations that the self-importance comes out, self-recognition comes out, and we start thinking, too much thinking. Say someone is praising, putting you onto the pedestal. Bhante, you are the best monk in the world. And your wife is coming and telling, oh my dear, you are the best husband I ever had. Or the opposite telling, oh, you are the worst person I have ever seen. Can you maintain without thinking? Are you able to maintain quietude of the mind when someone is praising or when someone is blaming? You can put yourself and see. Ask your husband to blame you and see. Ask your wife to blame you and see whether you are starting self-making, I-making, mind-making, too much thinking, or you are able to maintain stillness in your mind. So you can prepare yourself, maintaining very calm, equanimous attitude, and now your wife is coming with a bitter face, start smashing you, and you are maintaining the quietude in the mind. Then you can overcome latent tendencies. But what do you expect? You expect very peaceful environment, nobody should disturb, nobody should open the door loudly, everybody has to behave properly. So then I can eliminate defilements. Can you? Are we going to eliminate defilements like that? When the defilements are arising, at Kalalgoda or at your home, at your working place, or while driving in a three-wheeler, or while driving in a private bus. So the advice here, yato nidanam bhikkhu purisam papancha sanya sanka samudacharanti. Typically, in an environment where a normal man is being completely oppressed by conceptual proliferation, on such situation, this particular person, not having any of such conceptual proliferation, ettache natti abhinanditabbang, abhivaditabbang, ajjosetabbang. Now for a particular practitioner, for him, there is no any kind of adherence to it, any kind of appreciation to it, and getting delighted about it. So either way, any kind of agitation is not available. You are maintaining kind of unwavering mind, either in the praise or blame, either in the gain or loss, either in the fame or ill fame. You are maintaining equanimity. You can see what a practical path Buddha is talking here. It is not just sitting and meditating. So in our daily life, so the practice has to be taken to our life, not in a sitting or walking. Rather, it's a living practice. Now, in this particular sutta, in the Yavakalapi Sutta, so Buddha mentioned, Asmiti bhikkhave managatameta, ayang ahang asmiti managatameta. So, when you feel the sense of I, so Buddha mentioned, it happens because of conceit. When you feel, this is I am, Buddha mentioned, it happens because of conceit. Now, this is another way of happening. I-making, mind-making happens because of deeply rooted conceit. Even this subtle sense of I am, because of the conceit, it happens. So I am going to do this, I am going to do that. So the applying it to the future. Bhavissanti managatameta. Na bhavissanti managatameta. So you are sort of predicting something, appropriating something, planning something, and you are going to imagine you are there. I am the one going to do it. So at that moment, if there is a sense of I available, so we need to recognize. Now you can see these are not easy. Now it is not easy like tracing lust in your mind. It is not easy like tracing, noticing hatred in your mind. Now easily we can notice when our mind become angry. We can notice it. Say when mind become lustful. Fairly easily one can notice it when you are practicing. But these are very subtle defilements. So the conceit in that way are very subtle. The operation of conceit is very subtle. So you require a very pristine kind of mindfulness, clarity of mind, comprehension in order to do it. So likewise Buddha go on mentioning so all these different ways how conceit going to happen. And later Buddha adds here Managata metam bhikkave rogo. So this conceit monks is a disease. Managata metam gandu. This conceit is a boil. Managata metam sallang. This conceit is a dart. Tasmatiha bhikkave nihatamanena cetasa viharissa mati evaଂ hivo bhikkave sikkitabbaṃ. Therefore monks, you should live without conceit. You should live in a humble manner. That is the way you need to restrain yourself. So he advised to the monks, to the practitioners. Okay, with that I like to conclude today's Dhamma sermon and the series of Dhamma sermons connected to this Yavakalapi Sutta. Thank you very much for attentive listening. So today also we have short sharing of merits. Today's breakfast dana offered by Diyabalanage Takshila Ramya Idrisingha to bless Vidisha Asangani and Hasindu Diyabalanage, to bless Takshila Sirichandra and family members, to pass merits to our departed parents. And then the lunch dana, they want to share merits. May the merits be bestowed on Gamini Amarasekara and Sashini Mudalige, as it is their birthday. May they be blessed with good health and peace of mind. Also in loving memory of all our dearly departed relatives. May this merit accrue to all of us in attainment of the supreme bliss of Nirvana. And today also we have spent fair amount of time practicing Dhamma, listening to Dhamma, discussing Dhamma, and involved with various other meritorious deeds. And let all these meritorious deeds help us to attain path fruition Nibbana. And we share these merits all with the past relatives, all celestial beings, and whoever in need of merits. And while keeping these good wishes in our mind, let's recite the traditional verses. Ettavata amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiya. Ettavata amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiya. Ettavata amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiya. Akasattha ca bummattha devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva cirang rakkhantu sasanang. Akasattha ca bummattha devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva cirang rakkhantu desanang. Akasattha ca bummattha devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva cirang rakkhantu mamparang. Idang vo ñātīnaṃ hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Idang vo ñātīnaṃ hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Idang vo ñātīnaṃ hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Imina punya kammena māme bāla samāgamo satang samāgamo hotu yāva nibbāna pattiyā. ඉමිනා පුඤ්ඤ කම්මේන මාමේ බාල සමාගමෝ සතං සමාගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිබ්බාන පත්තියා. ඉමිනා පුඤ්ඤ කම්මේන මාමේ බාල සමාගමෝ සතං සමාගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිබ්බාන පත්තියා. සාදු සාදු සාදු.